Etta Boulay has been involved in mentoring for a number of years. Back in the 70s and the late 70s and early 80s, we were mentoring elementary school students, and we have moved that forward. We're moving forward with purpose, and our purpose is to make sure we help young African American males succeed. One of the things we've done is at Jennings Middle School. 4 or 5 years ago, we got a group of kids, about 12 to 15 kids, and we mentored them in the 7th grade, and we're with those kids today as they are in high school. We also have a program that we call Young Men of Achievement, and these young men are a group of 8th graders that we lecture to, or we tell our story once a month. We believe that young people need to see themselves outside of their current environment.
In 2012, I was approached by one of the members of the Etta Boulay about a possibility of them coming into the district. Actually, 2 members, Johnny Furr and Dr. Nathaniel Murdoch. And there was an opportunity for them to mentor. The whole thing was for them to come and identify students to mentor. I'm like, you've come to the right place. What I have found is very easy to get females to volunteer or to approach. But when we had the fraternity and a group of men, successful men, who could identify with our students, I had to jump on the opportunity. The students were very excited because it allowed them an opportunity to be exposed not only to lifestyles but to pillars in the community, and have an intimate relationship with them. They have been wonderful. They've welcomed our students into their families. They took them to different events that they may not have normally had an opportunity to attend, and they had a good talking to from an African American male. As long as I'm here, I will advocate for them being a part of our school community and for continuously being a community partner with the Jennings Junior High and the school district.
Well, we stay committed because we're committed to our mission, and we stay focused because we talk about it every day. We realize the challenges that young men have in the St. Louis region, and we realize that it is our obligation to do all we can to make a difference. So staying committed, staying focused is who we are. We're a group of serious men who have achieved and who have taken our lives very, very seriously, and we believe for us to stay focused is only the right thing to do. Dr. King's impact on Sigma Pi Phi is large, primarily because of the way he lived his life. He once said that the persistent question is, what are you doing for others? So our fraternity has taken that forward and said to ourselves and as a group collectively that we're going to do everything we can to make a difference.
The Etta Boulay fraternity sends us entrepreneurs on a monthly basis. And when you ask what is significance and how can they impact, I guess you can look at what the approach is. The approach is to impact a child by sharing what they have done, what obstacles they've overcome, and what challenges they've met in life. That can affect any child that's in the room. When you hear about a person's life and you understand that their lives are similar to yours, then you can make a conscious decision whether I can try or whether I can't. So that makes the attempt 100% perfect, whether it's 100% of the children achieving or not, because your goal is met because you're trying. And that's what the Etta Boulay fraternity does here in the Jennings School District.
So we get to know them, we listen to them, we want to hear what they have to say. We want them to know us, and we trust them, and they trust us. Then over a period of time, you begin to try to figure out what is their passion, what are the things they dream about, what kind of person they want to be, what kind of profession they want to have, what are their interests. And then once you figure some of that out, you then try to have some support programs, so you do the things, you give them hope. You let them believe that it's possible. Our mission is to support and inspire young African American men to succeed. We're all about achievement and doing what we can to improve the community.
The most important thing to me was challenging radio stations back in the 50s, 60s, and the 70s. I sued several radio stations. That's mostly one thing I'm most proud of. And also started Black Talk Radio in St. Louis, Missouri, that people know what was going on. Information is very, very important. And that's the only thing that's going to save you, knowing the information. The challenges we faced was racism, especially disparity in pay. While we were making perhaps $150 a week, white disc jockeys and other disc jockeys were making $500, $600 a week. And I think that was very unfair. So we made some changes. I brought the union in to KATZ back in 1965, and our salaries immediately tripled. When I left there, the disc jockeys allowed the management to rescind the union, and they went back to where they were. We called it a plantation. By joining a progressive organization like the NAACP, CORE, the Urban League, something that's moving, something that's doing positive things, and become a part of that. Join an organization, a positive organization, an organization that's seeking change, positive changes. Everyone needs to join an organization. Choose the one that you want. It'll be the right one. Letter from a Birmingham jail. That was, I think, Dr. King's legacy to me and for me. That was his lesson for me. The letter from a Birmingham jail. You must stay focused, because if you give up, you'll never win anything. You'll never get anything that you've been fighting for these many years. You can't give up. You must stay focused. Let me put it like this. Knowing that you can make a change, you can make a difference. Everyone can make a difference, but you must make that first step. A difference can be made, and you can make it. The most important thing is to stay alive. Choose lifestyles and choices that'll keep you alive. Stay focused and fight for your freedom, because everyone can make change.
I think a lot of people like to dream, right? And say, oh, Dr. King would be, he would be happy. I don't think he would be necessarily happy. I think he'd be real about what was going on. I always say, and I heard it somewhere, I can't remember where I heard it, but just think about the stuff we could learn from an 80-year-old Martin Luther King. I think things may be different with having an experience that he had and being able to affect change at an early age. If he had all those years behind him to kind of transition. And I also think Martin Luther King could have possibly been our first black president if he was still alive at one point. So I think, speaking to the dream, I think that he would be able to help facilitate programming and effective policy to see his dream out if he was still alive. So it might be, we'd be in a whole better place. I think our older generation is so jaded with the political process that they feel sometimes as if the young folks are coming and just trying to steamroll, right? Come in and change everything up. That's not the case. I'm Representative Bruce Franks from the 78th District. That title don't matter to me. What matters to me is that I'm Bruce Franks from 4300 Gibson, and now it represents the people. And those same young folks who are out here in the streets who are looking for something, I represent them. I'm their representative, whether they live in the 78th District or not. And they can connect with me. I want to be able to do that with our older generation. And I think we've kind of grasped onto that, and it's about the work now. But the worst thing that a older person can tell a younger person is you're not ready. Because nobody's ever truly ready to take on a position that they've never had before, no matter how much experience you have in anything else. You go into this political realm, activism, community, whatever it is. I wasn't ready to be an activist. I wasn't ready for the events of August 9th on August 8th. But I showed up. Folks showed up, young folks showed up. We didn't know necessarily the correct routes or the most conventional ways to do things, but we got it done. I think one of our biggest things we have to work on is communication, right? Something that's bigger than our gap in our relationship with the police is our gap in a relationship with generations. There has to get to a point where we're talking to each other, not at each other. There has to be a point where we're both willing to learn from each other. And our older folks are willing to understand that times change, because they have to realize that when they were 18 and 19 and 20 and 21, they was us. They was the ones that their older generation was worried about and said, they don't listen, they too radical, and they this or they that. But they're the ones that wanted to come in and make a change, and they made a change. So getting to the point where we can bridge those gaps, because once we bridge those gaps with each other, then nobody can truly stop us. One thing about the young folks today, they're not waiting. And so we would much rather that transition be smooth, respectful, and be able to be to have that communication there, because we want to learn. I love to learn. I don't think I know it all. The more I learn, the better off I am, the better off the community is, better off our future is. But we just have to get to that point where we learn how to disagree. Once we bridge that gap between our generations, the sky ain't even the limit.
Dr. Henry H. Givens, Jr., president of Harris-Stowe State University for 30 years, president emeritus of the Dr. Martin Luther King statewide celebration, educator, author, civil rights activist, and community leader. And so the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. statewide celebration has established the Dr. Henry Givens Jr. Legacy Award. It is to be given to a person who demonstrates the qualities of Dr. Henry H. Givens Jr. through education, social justice, racial harmony, community leadership, and those qualities that represent him. Tonight, we salute and give this award to Mr. Richard Claxton Gregory, a native St. Louisan.
Well, first of all, let me explain. He stated that when his life intersected with Dr. King, it changed him completely. He got involved in this at a young age, but when he got involved with Dr. King, it took him to a new level, because now, rather than just fighting for conditions on his home front, he found that what he was fighting for now was for the rights of people on this planet. And so for him to receive an award with King's name on it would just overwhelm him. Matter of fact, when they came, when he was here in 1976 with the bicentennial run, and they named a street after Dick Gregory, the street intersected with Dr. Martin Luther King. With all this coming about, if he could, he'd come back and get it himself. But we talked about what this movement was about, and just how he got involved on a bigger stage, and he just got deeper and deeper into it, to the point where it no longer was an offshoot to his comedy as an entertainer. It became a mainstay, and comedy was something that he began to do when he wasn't marching. And it got to the point where he just gave up comedy completely as well, because he said the people are out laughing at what I'm saying, but it's not changing anything. So I need to take it on a different level, and he did. in our generation, somebody passed the baton to me. And then I went and did my race. When I got to a certain point, I gave the baton to the next person. But when I look up and see the problems that we have in our community, I say to myself, who dropped the baton? And when I go to the mirror and ask the mirror who dropped the baton, the mirror is looking back at me and say, were you the last one that had that baton before it was passed up? And until we are able to accept what it was that we didn't do, then we'll come out with the answers. I remember we were coming from Ferguson, and there was some people my age was walking behind me, the unrest, and was walking behind me, calling the kids that was out there demonstrating, called them thugs. And I stopped and I said, excuse me, if tomorrow morning America goes to war, you and I will not be drafted. Those young kids who you call thugs will be the ones who will be drafted. Only America won't call them thugs, they'll call them soldiers. And until we understand, those are soldiers out there. Now they might be untrained soldiers because none of us old heads took the time to go out and train them. But they're soldiers. Dick was a critical thinker. You know, if you take a box, it has 6 sides on it. Most people just look at that one side and form their opinion. Dick had the ability to take the box and turn it into a sphere and spin it. And when you spin it, you see everything at one time, and then you integrate your ideas and come out with some type of a solution. And that's what he did. And as a result of it, he created a bunch of critical thinkers all over the world. I would say that if he had been able to give a last word on his deathbed, he would say, me dying is not the end. This is only the beginning, and we just scratched the surface. And I hope, he would say, I hope I have inspired enough people to get out and do something, because if you can, if one person can do so much, how much can masses of people do? I would say the other family members and real close friends of Dick Gregory that's here today, I think you need to stand up and take a bow, because that kinfolks that we had touched the whole world and made us very much a part of what he did.